Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to be going over an article here that was written by a woman titled, It's Time to Redefine Masculinity. So once again, we have another article written by a woman pretty much telling guys how they need to act. Okay? And this isn't the first time that I've done an article. I've done a video about this because I see a lot of articles popping up and I do the best ones I can find. And the thing is this, guys, it's absolutely crazy to think that, let me put it this way. If you had an article written by a man titled, It's Time to Redefine Femininity, people would lose their minds, right? Because a man does not understand what it's like to be a woman. He doesn't understand what it's like to be a girl and growing up during all the stages of development. So why on earth would it be all right for a woman to write an article and think that she understands what it's like to be a man? What she understands what it's like to be a boy through the different stages of development. It's absurd, but nobody's calling him on that. So that's why I do articles like this, to point these things out, because you gotta have awareness, guys, and so it's good to talk about these things. And this particular article here, she's going to go into this is specifically deals with the issues of traditional masculinity and toxic masculinity, which is really popular to bash these days, right? And this is going to go into talking about different brands, different companies and brands that sell products, and how through their marketing campaigns are trying to obviously basically shame these traditional things that men have, these traits. And things like being tough, being strong, being competitive. And they want to then mold guys to be more emotional, more sensitive, be able to cry, feeling beautiful. I mean, all these things, right? And talking about self-love and all that. And I got no problem with self-love, loving yourself, but it doesn't mean you have to become a overly emotional, overly sensitive, whiny, weak crybaby. And unfortunately, that's what you have these generations, the millennial, definitely the Generation Z, a lot of the guys, not all, but a lot, being molded into. And it's got to stop. It's gotten way out of hand. And on the flip side, you have girls at an early age being molded to be tough, competitive, strong, all these masculine features. So everything's completely out of whack. And, to be honest, guys, there are definitely some people in this world, some groups, they're not going to be happy until we're all walking around wearing dresses and carrying purses and wearing lipsticks. I'm not joking. So we go into this article here. Again, title of the article is, It's Time to Redefine Masculinity. Now more than ever, consumers are demanding that brands take a stand. I'm not demanding that brands take a stand. I've never known anyone that's demanding that brands take a stand. Right there in the first sentence, more bullshit. According to recent research from Accenture, 63% of global consumers prefer to purchase products and services from companies that stand for a purpose that reflects their own values and beliefs. 63% of global consumers. I have a serious problem with that. Are you telling me people from poor countries around the world care about the values and so forth that companies have? They just want to have clothes on their backs or food to eat, or shoes to wear on their feet. Give me a break here. I'm an American citizen. I don't care about the values and beliefs of the company that made this shirt I'm wearing, or these sunglasses, or the sneakers I'm wearing. I don't give a damn about that. Just make a good product. Make it to last. Make it affordable. I'll buy it. Period. And brands have been stepping up. In recent years, we've seen countless women's brands launching marketing campaigns centered around their value of female empowerment. Like, Think Like a Girl from Always, Dove's Real Beauty, or the recent Ladies First campaign from Keds. But in recent years, the conversation around changing gender dynamics and achieving gender equality has shifted. See right there, the conversation of changing gender dynamics. This is no joke, guys. That's what's trying to be done here. We've seen it in the schools. They start early on with elementary school and all that. And I've read countless comments from people, younger guys, talking about how they do that in the schools, elementary schools, all the way on up. how things are definitely biased in colleges. You see it in movies and TV going back since the early 80s, right? The music, and now you're seeing it in commercials and marketing campaigns for products. It's all around. You got to pay attention. Goes on, in the wake of the M2 movement, you all know what it is. I'm using code for the censors. People have recognized that it's not enough to empower women in order to make progress. We also need to tackle the pervasive problem of toxic masculinity. So again, they're doing the Empowering Women Project. Let's be honest, making it more masculine. Let's call it what it is. And now they're saying, now we need to tackle the pervasive problem of toxic masculinity in certain groups or individuals' definition of toxic. But you see, their definition of toxic is traditional strong male values. These male core traits that are molded in boys to become strong men, which we all need to have and want to have. I don't know any woman that wants to have a weakling for a husband and a weakling to raise their sons. You know, maybe the really masculine ones that are, you can question certain things about them, but in general, people want strong men, and it starts when they're boys. So if you have these programs and efforts are being made to make boys sensitive and emotional and weak and talking about their feelings and all these things, what kind of men are going to come out of that? And some people are going to give me a hard time in the comments and saying, well, sensitive and not overbearing and mean. And yeah, you know, you can have these strong qualities as a man and not become a bully or become an abuser. We don't want that, okay? But unfortunately, it is considered now that to have boys embrace these traits of strength, toughness, all that they're going to become bullies and abusers, and that's not true at all. Bullies and abusers are going to happen anyway, so we need strong boys to become men to deal with those type of guys. Goes on to say, and by the way, this article is a year old, but it's important, so this is why I'm doing this. It says here, earlier this year, men's shaving brand Gillette flipped the script on its tagline, "The best a man can get," by confronting the notion that boys will be boys. I will never forget that commercial during the Super Bowl. I will never buy a Gillette product. If I decide to start shaving my beard one day and go clean shaven the rest of my life, I will never buy a Gillette product. I won't even go to Gillette Stadium here in Massachusetts. No way. I'm not supporting that company or any other company that promotes this crap. The brand asks, is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it. It's going on far too long. We can't laugh it off, making the same old excuses. In a similar move last year, menswear brand Bonobos responded to the M2 movement in its Evolve the Definition campaign, which sought to push back against society's traditional framing of masculinity. So here we go again. Most recently, men's grooming brand Scotch Porter launched its Dare to Care campaign, spotlighting influencers who are challenging the status quo and fighting against harmful stereotypes of masculinity. All right, Scotch Porter, I will add that to the list of company brands to avoid. You guys can do what you want. Through philanthropy, media, education, fashion, music, and advocacy, these men are aggressively pushing boundaries to reveal the multiple internal and external layers of themselves to inspire others. The Dare to Care campaign highlights their remarkable stories and embraces the mission by tackling preconceived notions of traditional men's roles and gender-based behaviors, says Calvin Quallis, founder of Scotch Porter. He's quoted as saying, "We at Scotch Porter believe everyone should dare to care, and we're committed to changing the perception of grooming. Just sell your shaving product. Enough with this nonsense. It's not just about helping men to look and feel better. It's about helping men to think differently." Hey, they're borrowing that. They're stealing that from Apple. "It's okay for us to feel beautiful, to cry, and to take care of ourselves and others." It's okay to feel beautiful and cry. That sounds like you're marketing to women. With this campaign, we take the lead on reshaping and re-imaging the stereotypical portrayal of masculinity to be one of characterized as more caring and compassionate. I got no problem if a guy is caring and compassionate, but the way they're making it out to be, he's got a big whiny crybaby candy ass. We don't need that. And we don't need to feel beautiful and then we can cry. Self-love is very important, says influencer Carl Banks, 2-time Super Bowl champion and founder of G3 Sports. And I think as we talk to our young men about how they identify themselves, it's how you create who you are and not what you read about yourself. Not what someone tells you is beautiful or is smart. You just have to have a strong belief in who you are. I got no problem with believing in who you are and being who you are. Great. And I got no problem with self-love. Great. Just don't be a pussy. That's it. You don't need to be overly emotional, overly sensitive, whiny, weak, all that. And by the way, for you guys that are interested in dating and hooking up and all that stuff, I can't tell you how many women I've talked to over the years. Because I'm a personal trainer. I own my own company. So I have a lot of female clients. Majority are female clients. But I also used to work in different gyms. And I got to know a lot of people there. And for some reason, people have always opened up to me, both men and women. And the women always say, because they're usually single or divorced, where are all the real men? They talk about that. Because basically they're all needy and clingy and emotional. It's not an accident, you see? And so for guys that don't behave in this way, it's like a buffet out there for you guys. So just be aware of this for those of you guys into dating and pickup and all that. Act like a man, you got it made. Goes on to say, on the topic of toxic masculinity, Datewan Thomas, editor-in-chief of Vibe, described it as a sickness that we're finally talking after society has overlooked it for too long. I think this guy was probably really, really bullied when he was a kid. Which, by the way, I was bullied when I was a kid. And my dad, who was old school, the way he dealt with it is he took me to the sporting goods store, got me this giant 80-pound punching bag, boxing gloves, taught me how to punch, and I was in the basement wailing on that bag until I got good at it. And guess what? I dealt with the bullies old school. End of story. That's it. Right? No one tried to make me overly emotional, overly sensitive, being able to cry and talk about my feelings or any of this nonsense. And that's what they're trying to do. It's okay to be tough and strong and all that. It doesn't mean you're going to become a bully and nasty and abuser. Goes on to say, I think particularly the millennials and Generation Z are really pushing against that and pushing back. With their gender fluidity and the kind of non-binary and sexually non-conforming identities. Emil Wilbekin, founder of Native Son, adds optimistically, I think it's a great time for change. Interesting how the talk of the Generation Z and the millennial group comes into play here and how they're obviously going along with this, because I don't think it's an accident that that's happening, because, those groups, and particularly Generation Z, this is the largest group ever raised in single-parent households and generally single mothers, right? So you have all these boys being raised by single moms, and it's not an accident that combine the fact that the boys are being raised by single moms, which don't lay down the law in the same way that a father would. They're not raising the boys in the same way that a father would. Plus added with movies and TV promoting all this, the brands, commercials, and obviously in the schools, that you have things as they are, and the Generation Z and millennials are quite impacted by all this. It's not an accident. Goes on to say, as we push for that change, brands have to have the power to not just play a role in the cultural conversation, but to help shape it. Whether that's choosing to reinforce traditional gender stereotypes or choosing to hold a mirror up to society. It's a power they're using more and more wisely. Brands are becoming more aware when it comes to who their consumer is and what it means to meet them on their terms. It's not about trying to put a circle in a square. Yeah, sure. But rather embracing how dynamic they are. says Alicia Worthington, Senior Brand Director of Marketing at Scotch Porter. Brands must first look at their mission statement and ethos to ensure that the messaging they want to deploy aligns with their core. Consumers can sense when something isn't authentic, and it will instantly set up the brand for unwanted backlash. Well, a lot of these brands that are participating in this nonsense could definitely have a surprise in the backlash they're going to get from men. At least the older guys, probably 40 and up. Article ends saying, after decades of advertisements too often dripping with sexism and misogyny and reinforcing traditional alpha male behavior, it's time for brands to not only take responsibility for the impact that their content has on consumers, worldview, and mental health, but actually help advocate for a more enlightened future free of toxic masculinity. The more we see it, the more we can be it. So again, I got no problem with trying to make it that you don't have bullies and abusers and things like that. You know, where I train in martial arts, they have a fantastic kids program, and the guys and girls that teach those kids, you know, from like 5-year-olds up to like 12-year-olds, they're really good at what they do, and they really try to make these kids know, look, these skills are for self-defense. Take care of yourself. No bullying. They deal with anti-bullying things to handle it before people start using their fists, but they also teach these kids not to become bullies, right? And we don't want that. But the thing is, these groups make it seem, and they're trying to steer people in the direction that if boys embrace these qualities that turn them into men, being tough, being strong, being competitive, all these things, they're going to turn out to be bullies. They may not be saying that outright, but that's definitely what they're implying. And we all know, we can read between the lines here. And that's what I have a big problem with. And so I'm sick and tired of seeing this. And that's why I'm doing this article, to make you guys aware of this. So if you're new to this channel, you're going to see more videos of articles talking about this subject, about people bashing traditional masculinity and things like that, because things have gotten way too far. And that's why I started the channel in the first place, to do my part to help out and get things back into balance. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time.